Good morning. Today's lesson, we're going to start with our AI assault and how to make kind of a triggered, scripted attack by an NPC. So we're going to use the Combine S, the default soldiers from Half-Life 2, and we're going to have them spawn into the world, form up into a rally point, and then on a trigger, we're going to have them assault one or more locations inside this corridor we're working on. So our overall goal is we're going to create an ambush type situation. So the player is going to come down the hallway. We're going to use the explosion and shake that we did yesterday to have sort of like an IED explosion, put on by the rebels. The Combine are going to come in and rush the location, at which point the rebels are going to start spawning into the map and ambush the Combine from the side rooms in the corridor. So we've already learned how to spawn the citizens, so now we're going to start setting up the assault part. So first, let me kind of show you. I'm going to run it in wireframe just so you can kind of see through the walls and everything. But what we've got here is you're going to see the Combine soldiers spawn into position, and then they're going to assemble at a rally point that we've designated. And then there's a trigger, and once I hit the trigger, you'll see them rush to the assault point. And we can have multiple assault points, and we can even have different rally points where they, maybe rally in 2 points and then assault 3 or 4 different points. Or they can run assaults from point to point. We can have priorities where they go to assault point 1, assault point 2, assault point 3. We'll kind of do this step by step though, because there's a lot of pieces to make this work. And if you mislabel one part, the whole thing doesn't work. So we're going to do this in very small chunks. Each step of the process we're going to do on a separate day, just so we can make sure that we get it working, and then we'll know that piece works before we add yet another piece to it. It's a little harder to troubleshoot things when you try to do the whole thing at once, because if you make a mistake early but then you go ahead and finish the entire project, now you've got to walk back through every single step to figure out which one you messed up. So we're going to start with just the spawning point, but let's look at the level real quick. So I'm going to reload this. All right. So we see them spawning into position using an NPC template maker. And now what they're doing is once they spawn into the world, there's an entity that tells them to assemble at these rally points. So they go to the rally points, and now they're all standing on their position and they're waiting for additional orders. Now there's a trigger in front of my player right in this area here. So once I hit that trigger, these guys are going to rush to an assault point just up here. The assault point could be anywhere, but just for the sake of the demonstration, it's just kind of right in front of them. But let me hit the trigger, and you can watch what happens. Okay, so now they rush forward, and if there were a goal there, they would start attacking it. Once they clear that area of hostiles, they could then move on to a secondary, 3, 4, 5 different assault points. It's kind of up to us once we get this working. But that's pretty much the premise of what we're working on here. We're going to have these guys spawn in way down at the other end of the corridor. They're going to assemble into whatever formation you want to put them into. And then as that IED goes off, these guys are going to rush into place and assault the corridor in front of the player. All right, so let's take a look at the actual editor now and what we're going to get done today. So here's an overview of the map. So nothing, crazy. I just threw this together just for the sake of the demonstration. But you can kind of see what's happening here. They're spawning over here, and then we can see their rally points are here, and then we can see the purple lines indicate where they're going to go for the assault point. So these rally points can actually be assigned to different attack points. So we could have, everybody on this half attack over here, and everybody on this half could attack over here. It's really up to us once we build the actual assault. Today what we're going to work on is the spawning point. So in your corridor, at the far end of the corridor that we're making, Remember, it's a long corridor. That was right in the text. It was a big, sweeping, gently curving corridor. So we want to make it pretty long. Now, if your corridor doesn't have a location that the player can't see, like you can see all the way to the end of the corridor. Like in mine, I can't because my corridor is so long that it curves off to the left and you can't see the end of it. So I have a space down there that I can spawn these combine into. If you don't have that, maybe your corridor is not big enough or you couldn't figure out how to do the curve, so your corridor is pretty straight. What I'm going to need you to do then is build yourself a little side room. Nothing spectacular or crazy, just, put a little room off to the side, but we need somewhere to spawn these combine soldiers that isn't visible to the player. We don't want the player to see them spawn like you could see in my demonstration here, because it's just weird. All right. So for today's setup, what we're going to do is we are going to use our NPC template maker, okay, just like we did with the citizens. We are going to create a template NPC from the NPC Combine S. All right, this is the default generic baddie in the game, and he's got a bunch of different skins. You're welcome to use, some of them if you want to mix up the skins a little bit, but just, be aware that this is a template. So if you pick Nova Prospect, all the dudes are going to be Nova Prospect, or I guess I shouldn't say dudes because we don't know their genders. They get captured and conscripted into service, so we don't actually know. They could be anything underneath the mask. We don't know. Anyway, so let's kind of just review how we would do this. So from my entity tool, I would come over here and I would put in NPC Combine S, and then I would drop in this soldier right here. What I want you to do is I want you to name the soldier Assault Soldier. All right? So we're going to go ahead and name this individual. Don't worry about the squad yet. We'll talk about that once we get into doing the actual assault. You can give him a weapon if you'd like. Down here, under flags, very important, make sure you have template NPC checked. Okay, this is really important. Otherwise, this guy will spawn and this won't create copies. So this template NPC, this guy won't spawn. They'll get created by this template maker here. All right? So we're going to put in a Combine S. We're going to name it Assault Soldier. Under flags, we're going to put in our template NPC. Then from there, remember we need these. Info NPC spawn destination. They all have the same name. I named them Assault Spawn. My NPC template maker, I named it, the name of the template NPC is Assault Soldier. The name of my destination group is Assault Spawn. So here's my spawners. This is where everybody's going to spawn. They're good to go. Put in your info nodes, info node hints. Remember, these are what allow them to navigate the world. So we're going to scatter some of those in the area so they can walk around a little bit. My template maker. For the sake of the lesson, let's go ahead and do 8, max of 8, frequency 1 is fine. We can spawn them in every second. For visible to player, I would say no on this. I put it to don't care because my player can see where they're at, but for yours I would want that to be no, because I don't want them to spawn in front of the player. All right. And then don't forget to check start disabled. No, we want these guys to spawn right at the start of the game. Okay. All right, so essentially, if you don't remember how to do this, this is the exact same thing that we did with the citizens, except I want you to do it with these Combine guys. Okay? So I want all these Combine guys, I want you to spawn 8 of them at the opposite end of the corridor. Okay? Nothing else. That is your goal today, is to get 8 of these guys to spawn at one end of the corridor. At the other end of the corridor, spawn in however many citizens we had, rebels, who, they're going to fight the Combine. If they see each other, they'll start fighting. That's fine. For now, that's not a problem. We're going to clean it up and put in all these little assault markers and stuff later. All right? So I need you to spawn in a squad of 8 Combine S using the NPC template maker, the destination markers, and put in some info nodes. And I want these guys to spawn at the opposite end of the hallway from you. Now, for testing purposes, I want you to go ahead and put in an AI relationship. So this is an entity. We've done this before. So it's my entity. You come over here, AI relationship, and I want you to set up a relationship between the Combine S and the player. And I want you to set it to neutral, start active, and also make it reciprocal. So I want this so that we can walk amongst the battle without getting targeted. And this way we can go down to the end of the corridor and kind of check things out and make sure everything's working. All right? So you're going to do the spawner, and you're going to spawn in 8 and only 8 Combine at this point. We'll play around with waves and stuff later. But we're going to do an initial spawn of 8 Combine S at the opposite end of the corridor from where your citizens are at. Then we're also going to put in an AI relationship. We're going to have its subjects is going to be NPC Combine S. The target is !player. The disposition is neutral. Start active, yes. Reciprocal, yes. This will allow you to walk amongst them without them targeting you. So we can observe to make sure everything works. And then once we get everything finished, we'll go through and make some changes to these so that the player can actively engage in the battle if they want to. All right, but for now we want it to be neutral so that we can kind of walk around and just be an observer. All right, that's it for today.